In a remote corner of the Pacific, a string of small atoll islands barely break the surface of the vast blue. This is the Republic of Kiribati. It's made up of 99% ocean, an expanse that rivals that of the continental United States. When it comes to the impacts of climate variability and climate change, Kiribati ranks among the most vulnerable in the world. On Abaiang, as with all of Kiribati's atoll islands, climate change leads to increasing air and sea surface temperatures, increasing ocean acidification, more rainfall, but with climate variability also leading to more periods of droughts and extreme rainfall. This impacts negatively on the productivity of coastal fisheries and agriculture, and during periods of drought, the availability of adequate and safe drinking water. Sea level rise contributes to severe coastal erosion in some places. In 2011, the government of Kiribati requested new climate change programs to support outer island communities to adapt to the adverse impacts of climatic changes and variability, and to strengthen the island's response capacities to human-induced and natural hazards through a holistic, integrated approach. Instead of focusing on selected villages or single sectors, the whole-of-island approach targets the whole island ecosystem, communities, and governance structures, whilst considering its linkages with the national government and partners. The government of Kiribati is working towards moving beyond project-by-project approaches towards a better coordinated and programmatic approach for the benefit of the Kiribati people. This initiative is known as the Whole-of-Island Approach, and it is being piloted in Abaiang, an atoll located north of the capital, Tarawa. The coordination and implementation is supported by the Kiribati National Expert Group on Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, KNEG. KNEG, made up of representatives from various ministries, non-governmental organizations, faith-based groups and the private sector, is the technical advisory board to the national government on climate change and disaster risk management. Part of KNEG's agenda today is to discuss preparations for a multi-sectoral mission to Abaiang.
We've seen that in the past, projects have come and they've tried to address maybe issues relating to whichever sector, water, agriculture, you know, and they've kind of been scattered around Kiribati. So this whole-of-island approach, mainly what it does is gather all these projects or maybe these activities under one whole approach and then implement them fully on the one outer island first and then moving on to the next. As of now, the cabinet has selected two pilot islands, which are Abaiang and Tab North, Abaiang. And so far, Abaiang has seen planning and implementation.
The whole-of-island team heading to Abaiang includes representatives from various ministries, including education, environment, lands and agricultural development, fisheries and marine resources, public works and utilities, as well as the Kiribati Meteorological Service. The journey takes just over 2 hours. On hand to welcome the team are members of the Island Council and Unimane, respected elders in Abaiang. These picturesque low-lying shores have a population of just over 5,000. Tradition is very much alive here, and so too the hospitality of its people. With formalities and festivities complete, implementation work across the atoll can begin. Life on the atolls depends solely on the lagoons, reefs, oceans, and its resources. It has shaped culture, lifestyle, and how people have adapted in order to survive. The whole-of-island approach enhances management through fisheries scientific assessments, alternatives to fisheries management, as with the deployment of fish aggregating devices, FADs, aquaculture trials for resilient commodities, post-harvest, and development of Island Council fisheries bylaws. Through scientific assessments, marine protected areas, MPAs, will be established, and stringent control on fishing gear and seasons will be enforced by the island councils. In SPREP village, work begins early. Here, SPC is supporting the Ministry of Environment, Lands and Agricultural Development with the implementation of a USAID-funded project that aims to enhance climate change resilience of land-based food production systems.
It's quite very common in the villages is that there's a very high dependency on those imported foods. Because of these dependency problems, people tend to forget to, to ignore their own traditional foods, and they actually, like, if we look at some of the families, they have land, but they didn't actually, that land is not really fully cropped.
SPREP is one of 3 villages selected by the Abaiang Island Council for this agricultural initiative. The demonstration site will be divided into 3, a nursery, a piggery, and this section is being marked out for agroforestry activities.
We also brought from the water NFT, nitrogen fixing trees. The soil is not good also in Kiribati or the islands, but we're gonna do as a composting for planting our breadfruit and others.
Once completed, this structure will house a breeding, multiplication and distribution center for pigs. It will serve as a breeding and selection site for the conservation of local pigs, as well as for crossbreeding between local and exotic breeds brought in from Tarawa, in order to identify climate-resilient and adapted pigs for farmers to raise.
The reason we're bringing these breeds here is to let them, firstly, to mass produce these breeds here, and from these piglets, they can use them to, they can raise them and do crossbreeding in order to, with their local breeds, in order to produce better breeds.
The nursery aims to increase production and diversify vegetables and crops on the island. Planting material raised in the nursery will be used for demonstration farms as a means of increasing communities' awareness on sustainable atoll agriculture. It will also be used for distribution to households to address basic dietary needs.
I think we take the sweet potatoes and cassava and plenty vegetable seed that we have in our hands. And some of them we just ordered from the SPC, and we try to mass produce that kind of seedlings. As we see now that most of the trees here, they are not bearing fruit, and we know that the climate change affect our plants, and we should make the awareness to the people. They should do something for their plants. We try to encourage them not to burn the organic matters, especially in the bush, and we try to tell them that a lot of good nutrients in that organic materials do not burn. Just mix it and for the compost, and you can improve your soil.
Local ownership is vital for sustainability. If properly managed, it will not only address the food security needs of the over 700 people who live here, but it could also serve as an important source of income for the community, who can sell surplus vegetables and crops to South Tarawa. There are 12 projects funded by numerous donors being implemented under the Whole-of-Island Approach. Each initiative, including the one in SPREP, is being guided by the Abaiang Island Council Strategic Action Plan 2014 to 2017.
My special thanks to the Excellency, the President of the town, and also with their cabinets to select the island of Abaiang to going to do the Whole-Island Approach. And I'm say on behalf of the people of Abaiang to the Excellency of the town with his cabinet, thank you very much for your supporting and your looking after Abaiang Island.
The Abaiang Island Council's strategic plan works towards a vision statement, which is Abaiang, a land of progress today for a sustainable future. That plan has now been endorsed unanimously by the Council, and that also feeds into an action plan for all of the projects that are working here. So in that way, the island can have a lot of ownership and input into the projects taking place here.
Water is the lifeline of any community, and Abaiang Atoll is fortunate to have an underground freshwater lens. But changing climatic conditions and increased demand and supply place enormous strain on what is a very limited resource.
Nang dara ba sigiroi bakanga ipe teron karikian tiran takanga duwana kanga ya pede ko oi dadikina ya nang menai kanga ya muanan tarika.
It is a place where there's serious issues in regards to contaminated water supply and also shortage during times of drought.
The first step is to find out the extent of water contamination across the atoll. The National Project Coordinator, Water Engineering Unit and SPREP have carried out a number of water assessments on household wells and rainwater tanks for selected villages.
We find out from previous testing that Abaiang is quite lucky in that because it gets a lot of rainfall, being the island in one of the island in the north, and so most of the wells that are visited are quite fresh, you know. However, there are a lot of the wells, or most of the wells that are tested before are, contaminated with bacteria. And that's because most of the wells are open. Interestingly, the wells that are covered, fully covered, and with fully submerged on the ground, and connected to the end pumps, they have very little or no bacteria at all.
Approximately 40 wells were tested in each village. The results will determine how many tamana pumps or hand pumps will be installed in the villages selected under this project.
We've basically selected all of the wells that are going to be, that are going to have tamana pumps, and we've tested for bacteria and salinity as well. If people have better water, they will have better chance of healthier life, and they will, maybe for the children and the women who spend a lot of time collecting water, they will have more time to do other activities at home, and on the overall, I think it will increase the overall economic activity of the people on Abaiang if they have safe, accessible water at their homes. Yeah.
Understanding the changes taking place is important not only for today, but also for the future. In 2 locations on Abaiang, 55 teachers are learning how to use an innovative teaching resource called Learning About Climate Change the Pacific Way. This regional climate change toolkit was developed in collaboration with the SPC GIZ, SPREP, Australian Government, USAID and other international agencies.
We trained curriculum developers and curriculum writers on the new resource, how to use the new resource, and we also conduct trainings with national teacher training institutions, lecturers of Kiribati Teachers College, and from that onwards, they themselves, members of the CDRC and also KTC, were here with us, conducting training. So they are the ones who are training the teachers on the new resource.
It's totally interactive. It's 16 pictures, 16 chapters, but it's not intended that a teacher is ever going to start at chapter 1 and work their way through. It's deliberately designed with the pictures to be used across subjects at any stages, and all the teaching activities are there with ideas about you could do it this way, talking and oral with your primary students, or you could extend it this way for your senior students.
The learning aid and country-specific teacher guides were developed for 5 Pacific Island countries: Fiji, Kiribati, Samoa, Tonga and Vanuatu. Kiribati is the first country where it's being implemented, and Abaiang is the first atoll in Kiribati to utilize the resource.
The hands-on activities that we did during the workshop, like modeling the impact of warm water on the surface of the sea, we modeled that to the teachers, and from that modeling, then they tend to have a more sound knowledge of what will happen if the water surface of the ocean is expanding, and that's related to the increase in sea level rise. It will be very useful because after this, we are going to develop a training manual for the teachers across Kiribati that focuses on teaching climate change the Pacific way.
We look forward to apply the teaching strategies and to also use and utilize the resource materials in particular to our students, especially in the subject area of geography and maths and science, and then the other subject as well. You can have a lot of interaction by students. They can be able to write paragraphs and so it will also improve their writings and their English communication especially.
The Kiribati Meteorological Service, working in partnership with SPC GIZ and SPREP, also installed weather stations in 3 schools on Abaiang.
I think it's also important for the student to have practically take part in the weather monitoring. We hope from the Met's perspective, I think when the students be part of the monitoring, I think they can be more understand and know at the early stage what are the factors and the issues that Kiribati is facing in related to climate change.
A popular addition to the school compounds, these weather stations will complement the establishment of the main weather station at the Abaiang Island Council office.
Abaiang lack of is the data, the meteorological data. So when we get the data, the real-time data information on weather, Abaiang could be also one of the islands that could be provided with a lot of analysis or product from the Kiribati Meteorological Service. And one of it is the seasonal climate outlook, which I hope can assist Abaiang in terms of planning, in terms of issues related with the water, such as drought. Not only that, but in terms of any severe events, severe weather events, when happening, we can also take Abaiang data as one of the reference in verifying the information on those kind of in severe weather events.
Abaiang has its fair share of daily challenges, but is taking bold steps to address them. The atoll is committed to becoming fully organic and has devised innovative ways of promoting income-generation organic products and youth involvement by integrating sport and agriculture. Perhaps most importantly, however, the people of Abaiang are being empowered with the knowledge and tools to adapt to the changes around them. And in turn, they've become a shining example to the rest of the Pacific on how the whole-of-island approach can inform climate change adaptation programs in the future.